Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dana. For today's card I will be using this Thorned stencil from Tim Holtz, this stamp set Happy Flowers from Altenew, this set from Stampers Anonymous, and then this one from also Stampers Anonymous. The first one was CMS 111, this one is CMS 213. I will just be using the dies in the Altenew Happy Flower set. To start, I cut those out of some all sticky or full stick, whatever they call it, post-it notes. You can also use masking paper if that's what you have. And I die cut these off screen using my Spellbinders Platinum 6 machine. I went ahead and put those on a piece of Canson watercolor paper. And I just reused some masks that I had previously used. My idea first for this card was to mimic the moon mask technique. I wanted to see how it would look with different shapes. The two colors of Distress Oxide sprays I will be using is Abandoned Coral and Twisted Citron. If you've never used these before, you want to give them a good shake to mix up the pigment in the, I believe that's what settles to the bottom. Whatever settles to the bottom, you want to mix that in good so it doesn't clog the sprayer. I started off with the Abandoned Coral and I just put this sheet of cardstock in my splat box. I'm going to go ahead and dry that until it's almost completely dry and remove the masks. And here I'm just gluing the main panel onto a craft card base. Giving it a good spray with some water with my Distress sprayer, and then go ahead and dry that off. Now this is where kind of the happy accident happened with this card. I didn't like how it turned out under the masks. I didn't like the way that the dyes bled. I mean, that's the whole point of this technique, but I didn't really like it in those shapes, so I decided just to go in with the Twisted Citron. I lost most of that color when I sprayed the Abandoned Coral. It just kind of mixed. And then using the script stamp, I'm going to ink that up with my Vintage Photo Distress ink. I didn't put this in my Missy or on a block because I wanted to stamp it in two different spots. And I just used part of the stamp on one spot and part of the stamp on the other. And if I would have put it on a block, I wouldn't have been able to lift up one end so it didn't stamp on the paper. This is just a container that I had that I normally put sugar scrubs in. It's just a little 2-ounce container. That's just white gouache in there. I just put it in there so that I didn't constantly have to clean off a palette. I'm going in with the translucent CracklePaste and just putting that through parts of the stencil. I did use the stencil backwards because I wanted the flowers on the left hand side versus the right hand side. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the sentiment in clear VersaFine ink. And then I'm also going to heat emboss that with clear embossing powder. I wanted to do a resist with the sprays for the sentiment. And I'm just going to tear out around that sentiment to give it a distressed look, and I am not a fussy cutter. So this is the way I decided to do it. Just tear it up and make it look distressed. Then I put that sentiment piece in my splat box. Then I'm going to spray one half of it with the Twisted Citron and the other half of it with the Abandoned Coral. I did completely dry that with my heat tool. When you do this, you want to be careful not to overheat it because you can cause the embossing powder to kind of disappear and you won't get that resist. Now that the Crackle paste is completely dry, I'm going to go ahead and ink the edges of this panel with Vintage Photo Distress ink. Doing the same thing on the sentiment. And here I'm just gluing the main panel onto a craft card base. And then I'm just going to pop that sentiment portion up on some foam squares. And about here is where I realized that I had glued the panel on backwards. So I'm deciding whether I'm just going to leave it as is or take it apart, and I decided to take it apart. I re-adhere that to a card panel the proper way, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the sentiment on. And here's the final card. Thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't already, please go ahead and pamper that like button. Show it a little love. I greatly appreciate it. If you're not, please go ahead and subscribe. I do upload at least 2 videos a week. I'm shooting for a schedule of Monday and Friday, but I'm still kind of in the process of figuring that all out. And as always, please take time to pamper your inner goddess today, whether that's creating something or taking a long bath or using a new soap. Just do something that makes your little heart happy, and I will see you in the next one.